still in winter, yet our load shedding pattern has not proved as dire as many predicted. So far, so good. No stage 7 power cuts, just 1 and 3 at the moment. So let's find out if we are making slow but steady progress, or if this is just an illusion of stability created by our open cycle gas turbines burning diesel for the past 4 months at a total cost of 12.5 billion rand. I'm joined now by senior researcher Monique le Roux from the CSIR. Now, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research monitors power outages and tracks our available energy supplies. Monique, thanks so much for joining us. So, I mean, has load shedding actually been as bad as many were expecting this winter?
Hi, Sally. Yes, I think it's easy to answer. I think everyone was expecting, and us at the CSIR as well, from our data, expecting that we're probably likely going to see stage 8, stage 9, stage 10. I think that's what we were fearing at the start of this winter. And to our surprise, load shedding hasn't been that bad. And we have looked at the data, and I think a lot of people are wondering why exactly that is. And you've alluded to some of it. Obviously, gas turbines, it's been in the news, has been run at a very high capacity during the last couple of months. If we look at the data, last year, gas turbines were being used 8.8% of the time. This year, in total, we've looked at around 40% availability on those gas turbines. In June alone, they were being run at 80% of the time, which is really enormously high for gas turbines.
Yeah, so it's not only eye-wateringly expensive, but is it sustainable from a sort of engineering capacity point of view?
No, we would say absolutely not. Those turbines and those stations have been built to just run a couple of hours during peak times, and for them to be run day and night like this is absolutely not sustainable in the long run.
So is this just an illusion, or are there other positive factors that we should look at as perhaps signalling an easing of our power crisis?
So I think on the whole, probably we haven't seen the factors that we want to see to get us really out of the crisis in terms of getting new capacity online. That's really what's going to get us out of the crisis in the long term. What's really contributed to load shedding levels being a bit lower during winter has been the gas turbines. Also, the national demand, if you compare this winter to last winter, it's down around 1,000 megawatts, which is one stage of load shedding. So it's these factors that are contributing to the fact that we're having lower stages of load shedding, and not necessarily that we've got more capacity on the grid, which is really what we need at this moment. So
that's a bit worrying then, because, I mean, as you're saying, that these are being run flat out. They're at sort of, did you say 40% capacity, these gas turbines, compared to 8.8% last year. If you look at the energy availability factor, which I know is something you track as well, it was really, really low a few months ago. I think just over 50% of our meant to be available power supply was actually online. Where are we with our energy availability factor? And does the gas turbine situation skew it, or do you just go, no, that's a resource that we have?
Yeah, so if we look at the energy availability factor of Eskom's current plants, unfortunately, that also is quite negative because they have been trending downwards. If we look at the data from the last 5-6 years, you can see a definite downward trend. At the beginning of the year, towards the middle of the year, the energy availability factor traditionally has gone up a little bit as Eskom has cut back on planned maintenance during winter months. And then the second part of the year, we see the energy availability factor almost tanking towards the second part of the year. And that's really what we've seen this year, is an overall decrease from last year and the previous years, and then a little bit of an increase now during winter months as Eskom has cut down on planned maintenance, and then very much expecting that we're going to see a much lower energy availability factor towards the end of the year. So all in all, as you said, quite a lot of negatives that sort of trended during the last couple of months. We can't say that we are definitely out of the energy crisis and this is going to be sustained. As we know, the gas turbine peaker plants weren't designed, they weren't built to be run at these levels. So we probably are expecting that we're going to see sustained levels and probably higher levels of load shedding going forward. And I think the only really silver lining in all of this has been the rooftop solar that's been installed by private sector, by private households and businesses. There was a report that was released by Eskom a while ago that said that by their calculations, they've seen around 4,400 megawatts of solar PV that was installed privately, which is really amazing, an increase of 350% in just this year. And I think that probably accounts for around 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3 stages of load shedding during the day that we're mitigating.
Yeah, I mean, so that is certainly helping. What is our current energy availability factor?
So we're looking at around 50% at the moment, which is sort of on track with where we were last year. On good days, we're looking at around 65%. So it has gone up a little bit from the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, we hit a new low level of 47%, which really is very low to have your plants available. Only 47% of your plant is available. But as I said, traditionally, the energy availability factor has gone up during winter months because Eskom really cuts down on their planned maintenance, and then we'll see it probably coming down again towards the end of the year.
Talk to me about the concerns around the grid. I mean, this has been flagged by the electricity minister himself, but there are differing opinions. We know that in terms of getting the really big solar projects onto the energy supply system, it's going to require some extensions to the grid. But I think the issue for debate is how much. How concerned are you about the state of the grid and how it could impact our recovery from this energy crisis?
Yes, Sally, that is something that we've spoken about before, and it is really a big concern for us. We've stated publicly that we need a lot of investment in the grid if we really want to bring those big solar and wind farm projects online that the country desperately needs. Unfortunately, grid capacity is really low in the southern provinces where your good solar and wind resources are. And it's by our estimation and Eskom's estimation, we're looking at around 5 years, optimistically, probably more likely 10 years before the grid will be in place to bring those projects online. We have heard positive talks from government and from Eskom that they will try and accommodate some additional projects in the interim. So we're hoping, thumbs crossed, that the next bid round for the renewable energy power projects will be a bit more positive than last round. Last round, they were only able to procure 1,000 megawatts out of a total of 5,200 megawatts that they wanted to procure. They've opened the new bid round for that amount again. And we, as I said, fingers crossed, hoping that they'll get more capacity online this time. But on the whole, we really need that grid capacity to come online. We need those big projects to start, and we haven't seen that, unfortunately.
All right, thank you so much for giving us such a comprehensive update. That, of course, is senior researcher Monique le Roux. She's from the CSIR, that's the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, telling us energy availability still around 50% and less load shedding over winter because they're pushing those open cycle gas turbines. We know how much money that's costing, 12.5 billion rand nearly over a 4-month period.